The following program, NORML Show Live, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate for the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate or encourage any illegal activity and advise all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws by visiting NORML.org, NORML.org. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers of NORML Show Live are their own and do not necessarily reflect the philosophy and policies of NORML. Listener discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think we need to rethink and decriminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws presents
We love the earth.
NORML Show Live, Marijuana Nation. Now, here's your host, NORML's Outreach Coordinator, Radical Russ.
Good afternoon. It is Friday, February 12th, 2010, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. I'm your host, Radical Russ Belville, coming to you live and direct for 60 minutes of news, talk, interviews, and more that you can use for the cannabis community. Joining me, as always, from our virtual studio in the very stormy Astoria, Oregon, my good friend and half-sister, Cannabis Carrie.
Yes, all of my cats are under my chair right now. They're really freaked out about the thunder.
Yeah, that's kind of strange. You don't usually get lightning up there in Astoria.
We don't get thunder and lightning here very often. It's kind of a fun storm. I'm in.
All right. Well, folks, if we happen to lose Carrie on the connection, that will be why, because Poseidon and the rest of the gods have decided to flood her out up there in Astoria, Oregon. Carrie brings us our news highlights and headlines right after the first break here. And, Carrie, what are we looking forward to today?
Well, often Friday is, tidy up day here in the NORML newsroom. So I've got some updates of some stories we did this week, and of course our Friday headlines that we're going to do today. So lots of good stories. You'll just have to check and hear.
All right. I've also got a story that I'm going to bring to you. Carrie had a story yesterday about wasn't it Redding, California, where they had the remind me of that one?
Yeah, Christian Hughes that was fired from his job as a manager for a senior retirement complex because he tested positive for medical marijuana, even though he told his employers full disclosure that he used it for medical purposes. Yeah,
so as a follow-up on that, I found a story that was forwarded to me by the folks at Montana NORML. Check them out at montananormal.org regarding a medical marijuana user or a caregiver in a nursing home in Montana who just recently brought the SWAT team down. They brought the SWAT team down to try to take care of this guy, and then they later find out that he was a legitimate caregiver and no charges were filed. But in the meantime, all these poor senior citizens, sick and disabled folks, are just terrified by the SWAT team coming in.
Hopefully they have strong hearts.
Yeah,
I mean, a SWAT team coming in might give me a heart attack at my age.
Exactly. And a lot of these folks are talking about possibly suing, and the caregiver has said he's lost a few of his patients there because now they're just terrified. They're just too scared of what happened. So this just shows yet more collateral damage in the war on drugs. Check out my post on that at our blog, the Stash blog, at stash.normal.org. Also want to let folks know that change.org, this just came across the desk before about a half hour before airtime. Change.org has launched a petition campaign to have CBS reverse their decision to not show the Times Square ad billboard. Yeah, that's right. So we definitely want everyone to get behind that. Go over to change.org and sign that petition. I made a quick and easy link for you. It's bit.ly/NORML-CBS. Now, that has to be in capital letters, the normal-CBS, but bit.ly/normal-CBS. And if that's too much to remember, just go to stash.normal.org. It's on the front page right now. We'll be right back with our hemp headlines and Cannabis Carry. Stick around. This is NORML Show Live.
You're listening to NORML Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Hello, I'm Paul Stanford from the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, or THCF. Medical marijuana is legal in 13 states today, and THCF has clinics in 8 of those states. Our doctors help qualified patients obtain an authorization for medical marijuana in their state. Patients are eligible for medical marijuana with a history of either severe chronic pain and or nausea, cancer, AIDS or HIV, hepatitis, glaucoma, seizure disorders like epilepsy, chronic muscle spasms such as in multiple sclerosis or asthma, neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, and gastrointestinal disorders like IBS or Crohn's disease. If you or someone you know has one of these conditions, our doctors will help you obtain a permit for medical marijuana. THCF Medical Clinics has offices in Washington State, Oregon, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Nevada, Montana, and now Michigan. Call 1-800-723-0188 or go to the web at hemp.org or 1-800-723-0188.
High as a kite, everybody!
This drug in front of me is what they call marijuana.
If we had a dime for every dime bag bought in America, marijuana would be legal by now. Donate to NORML at NORML.org and support NORML Show Live.
I'm going to light.
Roll a big fatty. Medical marijuana, industrial hemp, consumer cannabis. It's time for this week's NORML News with Cannabis Carrie.
And true to form, Friday is sort of update day. An update on a story we did last week. The 74-year-old grandmother who was arrested on a 30-year-old warrant for marijuana charges was able to go home to her family after spending 4 nights in a Niagara County jail. Charges against Homanella Cole were dropped, and she was allowed to be released to her family members who were waiting for her at the Rainbow Bridge, the bridge that connects Niagara, New York, and Niagara, Canada. Now, Cole's troubles began in December of 1979 when she was accused of trying to smuggle marijuana out of the JFK airport. She didn't show up for a court date in April of 1980, and a bench warrant was issued for her. Cole's family has maintained that their mother believed the issue was resolved and were surprised to hear that she was arrested by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. She had stopped at the border to apply for a U.S. entry waiver. A past Canadian charge for which she had been pardoned for means she has to apply for a restricted travel voucher when she's traveling in the U.S. The U.S. does not recognize Canadian pardons. The Queen's District Attorney, Richard A. Brown, decided to use discretion to decline prosecuting the case and has dropped the charges, according to the DA spokesperson. She added that the decision was based on an overview of the entire case. And Stasher Pookie had asked me about the statute of limitations and if it applied in this case, and unfortunately, there are no statute of limitations on arrest warrants.
No, well, this is a shame, and I'm glad at least that the prosecutor in this case decided to use a little bit of discretion in this case because, well, gosh, she's 74 years old, but, you know, it just begs the question, why not just use discretion in all the cases? I mean, if she's not a danger to society after 30 years, why would somebody be a danger to society after 20 years or after 15 years or after 10 years? Or, you know, we give a lot of benefit of the doubt to elderly folks or to the sick and disabled when it comes to marijuana. But for some reason, if you're young and healthy, it's a big criminal action. We all need to worry about it. Let's just legalize marijuana for everyone and let our prosecutors, both in America and Canada, get to work on more serious crimes.
And Valentine's Day is this Sunday, and in that spirit, I wanted to give you an update on 2 couples. Jack Hara, who suffered a devastating heart attack at the Portland Hempstock last September, is making strides in his recovery efforts. Jack's wife, Jeannie Hare, was given official guardianship over her husband on February 3rd, and his son, Mark Hare, was appointed conservator. Jeannie is reporting that she is busy getting their new place in Portland, Oregon, ready for his homecoming that might be as early as this weekend, provided she gets the special hospital bed necessary. And she hopes that the hemp oil treatments that he couldn't receive in the facility can now be used at home. Jack does sit up with assistance from his bed. He watches TV and occasionally tries to speak, and he even watched the Super Bowl with friends who joined him at the hospital. Now, in the case of Mark and Jody Emery, they are making plans to be together on this Valentine's Day as they wait day by day for a call from the Canadian Justice Minister that will say Mark has 48 hours to appear for extradition to the U.S. to start serving his 5-year sentence. Jody and Mark are urging their Canadian friends to call the Justice Minister and tell them to not extradite Mark Emery. Now, the department has been silent on the issue thus far, so no one really knows exactly what, if anything, the Justice Minister is waiting for.
Well, glad to hear the news about Jack Harrer. I just read that update that you had gotten as well, Carrie. And this whole controversy, there's been a lot of behind-the-scenes controversy over a power of attorney that was signed somewhat hastily, apparently, that was giving power of attorney to a woman named Joy Graves. That's apparently been dissolved by the court here, and now custodianship has been given to Jeannie and his son. The other part about this, too, is that there was a book that was due to be out from Jack. He was working on a book that had to do with mushrooms and healing plants. Apparently that is still in limbo as far as it getting published anytime soon. So we'll keep up on this story here in Oregon. We've got some pretty close contacts we can get a hold of. Perhaps we'll have some of them on the show for an interview sometime. Also, with regard to Jack's treatment, Carrie mentioned the hemp oil treatment that he's been trying to get and been denied at the care center. This, of course, is the Rick Simpson Phoenix Tears, the hemp oil treatment that he claims is so powerful in ameliorating cancer. This is a very controversial subject, and later on in today's show, we're going to be speaking with Dave Bienenstock. He's the senior editor of High Times magazine, and in the latest edition of High Times, which the cover demonstrates the Cannabis Cup this year, the 22nd Cannabis Cup, but inside is a lengthy interview with Rick Simpson with regard to his Phoenix Tears hemp oil treatment, and a op-ed by Dr. Lester Grinspoon, one of the medical fathers of this movement, the medical marijuana movement, urging people to use caution in believing the claims of Mr. Simpson. We'll talk to Dave about that controversy when we get to the bottom of the hour. And with regard to the Mark Emery story, the waiting has got to be the hardest part, to quote the song. Just sitting there having to wait day after day for a phone call that says you got 2 days of freedom left. It would almost be better if he knew the exact date so that he could make plans around it. But we will keep you posted on the Mark Emery story as it develops.
And just a few headlines for you. California officials at the El Toro Library in Lake Forest, California, were shocked by a recent generous donation of $1,500 from an embattled medical marijuana dispensary. The 215 Agenda dispensary has been the target by the city of Lake Forest for violating the city's zoning laws. When the dispensary learned that the library had financial troubles, employees put out a tip jar to collect money for the library. The manager of the dispensary says the $1,500 is just an initial donation and more money is still being collected.
Well, that's interesting, and this is also a very good tactic for a lot of the cannabis businesses to take, is to get themselves better ingrained with the mainstream by making donations to libraries, to parks, to anyone that will take them, because money talks, and it makes people feel that we have more concerns than just the medical marijuana angle.
Ongoing efforts to reform marijuana laws in Rhode Island received a huge endorsement this week from the state's largest newspaper. The Providence Journal, in an editorial, calls for the decriminalization of marijuana, writing that the pursuit of nonviolent marijuana users puts enormous strain on the justice system, feeds corruption, and wastes taxpayers' dollars that could have been used more effectively elsewhere. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, people are starting to come to their senses on this, and we're seeing more and more editorials and op-eds and even legislators and judges that are standing up and saying we need to come up with a better solution.
Police in a northern suburb of Chicago say a high school official there is accused of trying to destroy evidence that marijuana was growing in the basement of the home where she rents an apartment. Candace Blayton, the 38-year-old dean of students at Zion Benton Township High School, is accused of trying to destroy 20 marijuana plants before police executed a search warrant. Now, there is no evidence that she was trying to sell marijuana or even that the marijuana was actually hers. She was released on a shockingly high $150,000 bail and is being placed on administrative leave at her school.
Wow, $150,000 bail means she's probably having to come up with, what, 10% of that, $15,000 for her freedom. And it's this emotional reaction. Whenever we talk about a teacher, right? If a teacher is caught with marijuana, suddenly everybody thinks that they must be trying to get the kids high or indoctrinate them in all sort of radical revolutionary thinking. Nothing could be further than the truth. Teachers are just like anybody else in society. And, you know, rather than the teacher coming home and drinking a beer to relieve their stress of dealing with all those kids all day, maybe they smoke a joint. And I don't see a problem with that. We need to get away from the emotionalism here with all of these issues and deal with the facts and understand that marijuana is probably the least harmful way that they could relax and unwind after a long day. Well, thank you, Cannabis Carrie, for the updates. Do you have any more for us? Is that it for the updates today?
Just one more short one. I just wanted to say that Hannah Teeter of the American Snowboarder Olympic team, who won the half-pipe gold in Torino, and we're hoping that she repeats there in Vancouver. She's been active in causes all over the world, and I just wanted you to let people know that she sells organic hemp sweatbands through her charity, Hannah Gold, and the proceeds help provide clean drinking water and plots of land for homeless AIDS victims in Kenya. Go Team USA.
Oh, that's really cool. Do they have a website or something where people can get involved with that?
I think it's hannahsgold.com, but I'm not real sure. If you put in Hannah's Gold, you'll be able to find it.
Hannah's Gold. Okay, Carrie, maybe you can find that link and post it up in the chat room while we're on break here. We'll be right back with Carrie later on in the show. She's going to get the rest of our guests on the phone line. And while we do, I think this would be a good time for us to take a look at what is happening across the country.
But I don't care. It's 420 somewhere.
It's time for a look at NORML's Cannabis Community Calendar, which you can find at norml.org/calendar. Tonight, the University of New Hampshire is tabling at the Student Activities Fair at the MUB at the University of New Hampshire. Tomorrow, Saturday, February 13th, begins National Medical Marijuana Week. Check out americansforsafeaccess.org/MMJ Week for more details. NORML of Waco Inc. in Waco, Texas is having their membership meeting tomorrow, Saturday, February 13th at La Fiesta on Hewitt Drive. Also, they've got a guest speaker. Gubernatorial candidate Jeff Dale will be speaking to the group, and they'll be getting volunteers for Sunday's Texas Highway 164 cleanup. This is part of the Adopt a Highway program that so many NORML chapters across the country have gotten involved in. For more information, check out normlofwacoinc.org. And if you'd like information on the Adopt a Highway program, email me at stash@norml.org. And tomorrow at noon Pacific, Oregon NORML's cardholder meeting takes place at the Village Ballroom at 700 Northeast Deacon Street. This is a meeting for medical marijuana patients who are members of Oregon NORML to learn more about cultivation, politics, and just the entire movement. It's a really amazing event, and you folks at NORML Show Live, you'll get to check it out tomorrow on this live streaming channel. Check out live.norml.org tomorrow, probably starting around 11 a.m. Pacific, and we'll be bringing you live coverage of the Oregon NORML cardholders meeting. It's really amazing to see 200 or more people gathered to fight for their rights. And after you've seen Madeline Martinez give a talk, you'll want to fight for your rights as well. That's tomorrow, starting at 11 a.m. Pacific, the Oregon NORML cardholders meeting. And for more details, check out ornorml.org. On Sunday, February 14th, it is Valentine's Day, and NORML of Waco Inc. will be participating in the Texas Highway 164 cleanup. Now, next week, a couple of notes. Tuesday, February 16th, there will be honoring Detroit's indigenous music, and Detroit NORML wants you to know more about this, as well as Michigan NORML and Wayne County NORML. This will be happening at Baker's Keyboard Lounge on Livernois in Detroit, Michigan. And for more details, check out minorml.org. You can also call Griffin Rivers at 517-974-1863. Sabrina Lewis at 517-230-9101, or Roscoe Thomas at 313-273-3522. All of those phone numbers are online at the NORML calendar of events at norml.org/calendar. And finally, on Wednesday, February 17th, the Iowa Board of Pharmacy is having a historic hearing on the rescheduling of cannabis from Schedule 1 to a lower schedule. This will be at 600 East Locust Street in Des Moines, Iowa. For more information, send me an email at stash@norml.org, and I'll put you in contact with the folks that know all about it. And again, to get your event on the NORML calendar of events, you must be a NORML chapter. For any information on starting a chapter or joining a chapter, send me an email at stash@normal.org. Well, it's 20 after the hour, and for those folks out on the East Coast still stranded in the snow, make it an extra special 420. We'll be right back after this.
It's 20 after the hour, and we have to take a short break, if you know what I mean. Please support these sponsors who support Normal Show Live.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
Law420.com. Hello, I'm Russ Belville, Outreach Coordinator for NORML. In my job, I read literally hundreds of headlines each month involving nonviolent, productive citizens whose lives are ripped apart by a marijuana or drug arrest. Many citizens could avoid arrest by refusing police searches and remaining silent, but police are well trained to confuse and intimidate. That's why you have a right to speak to an attorney before answering any police questions. I hope you never need to exercise that right, but if you do, make your first call to the law offices of John C. Lucy IV. John Lucy is an accomplished criminal defense attorney with expertise in Oregon's medical marijuana law. John Lucy understands and respects cannabis and drug consumers of all backgrounds. Call John C. Lucy IV at 503-227-6000 or visit in downtown Portland. Address available at law420.com. That's John C. Lucy IV at 503-227-6000 or visit law420.com today.
Almost busted in Laredo, but for reasons that I'd rather not disclose.
I smoke pot, and I like it a lot. Hi, this is Willie Nelson. I learned a long time ago that marijuana is a lot safer to use than alcohol. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana by adults. It's time we stopped arresting and started respecting responsible marijuana smokers in America. And to learn what you can do to help, please contact NORML at www.norml.org or call toll-free at 888-67-NORML.
The show was long and we were just sitting there, and we'd come to play and not just for the ride.
It's time for your Daily Toker Tunes, the best in 420-friendly music from all genres that uplifts, entertains, and informs the public. Our pod-safe music is donated by freedom-loving musicians who support our goal of ending adult marijuana prohibition. Today we take you into the weekend with Rockin' Friday, our segment featuring the best rock, metal, punk, and jam band music, brought to you by The Bastard, blogging at jerseyandohio.wordpress.com. If you'd like to submit your song to be played on Normal Show Live, send it to us at stash@normal.org. Now, here's some great independent marijuana music for today's Daily Toker Tunes. Oh, as you know, the Bastard isn't working with us anymore for the Rockin' Friday tunes, taking a hiatus, and are still looking for folks that want to become music editors here on the Stash for the Friday Rockin' Tunes. All you got to do is be able to come up with songs that are pod safe, and that means that they're not commercial artists. They are independent artists with control over their own tunes. Get us the MP3, a short bio of the band, and a photo or graphic, and we'll add it to the rotation, not only on our Daily Toker Tunes, but it also becomes part of the rotation that we play every other hour from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. on this channel. Every odd hour Pacific time, we play a replay of the show. Every even hour Pacific time, we play an hour of random Daily Toker tunes. So you can get your tune on our playlist. Just send it to me here at stash@normal.org. Now, for today's tune, we get a submission from one of our regulars in the Normal Show Live chat room, Canna Bob. And Canna Bob has got a song for us called Blaze One by B Foundation. Southern California's hottest rising surf roots rock band, the B Foundation draws influence from reggae rhythms, teen angst, and the salty waves of the Pacific Ocean. With 3 albums under their belt and a growing fan base, the B Foundation has become a touring machine. Halloween. Coming off of a nationwide co-headlining summer tour with Ballyhoo, the band spent fall 2008 on the road, opening for indie giant Slightly Stupid. The B Foundation also toured extensively in Japan earlier this year, playing 12 sold-out shows. Check out the B Foundation at myspace.com/B Foundation, just the letter B, Foundation. And for those of you who are registered at our blog at stash.normal.org, in a few hours you'll be able to get a download of this tune. It's the B Foundation with Blaze One.
Salvation. I praise one because my mind needs a vacation. I bought one for the party. I dropped 3 blue Armanis. Is someone watching over me? Let me be, let me be. For the homies, and I please one when I'm lonely. Is someone watching over me? Let me be, let me be. Yeah, 'cause you know that I hate traffic, 'cause it makes me so stressed out. And I bring my blood, and I light my nut, and I one up for you.
Yeah, the B Foundation with Blaze One. Check that out at our blog at stash.normal.org. And speaking of rock and roll on a Friday night, I want to give you all the update on what I'm doing tonight. Normally we would be playing the stream and replaying the show at 3, 5, 7, and 9 p.m. Pacific time. Today you're only going to get a replay at 3 p.m. because I am headed down to the Oregon NORML Cannabis Cafe for the kickoff of the OCTA 2010 campaign. This is the campaign to tax and regulate marijuana in the state of Oregon by Citizen Initiative. They're doing the big kickoff tonight, and I'll be there at the concert as part of a fundraiser, playing my bass and singing my songs, along with Cousin Kenny and Tim Pate and John Cornett. So you can check that out tonight live at live.normal.org. I'll begin the setup at about 5 p.m. Pacific, and I'll keep the stream up and running with the random tunes. You'll also be able to see inside the ballroom at the Cannabis Cafe. And then I believe the music starts around around 7 p.m. Pacific. I don't know exactly what time I'll be playing, but you'll get some live music, and I'll get to stretch my chops that have been a little rusty since moving to Portland. It'll be a good time for everyone. Check it out, live.normal.org tonight, starting around 5 p.m. Pacific. Also, check out usacannabiscafe.org if you want to learn more about the Cannabis Cafe, and coming soon we will have merchandise up there online for you to be able to purchase. Thanks for listening. It's Normal Show Live. We'll be right back with our High Times magazine preview. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Keith Straub, the founder of NORML. In all the years since 1970 that I've been fighting marijuana prohibition, I've learned that drug warriors love to confuse the public with statistics. Lately, they've claimed that there are more teens enrolled in drug treatment for marijuana than ever before. It's a statement that, while true, is intentionally misleading. What they don't tell you is that marijuana arrests have skyrocketed to over 800,000 arrests per year. They also don't tell you that we've gone from a few dozen drug courts in the 1990s to over 2,500 drug courts today. The kicker is that those drug courts sentence teens routinely to drug treatment for marijuana whether they need drug treatment or not. So they arrest more people for pot, require them to enter drug treatment, then claim the higher treatment numbers justify more pot arrests. It's an absurd proposition, but no more absurd than banning a plant. Learn the facts about pot. Visit NORML.org today.
Starfish Designs, makers of the original Gandalf.
I'm Radical Russ, and when I want to relax, I always have my 17-inch long original Gandalf from Starfish Designs nearby. The hand-blown borosilicate glass is strong and easy to clean, and the design is sleek and sophisticated. Starfish Designs are available from Bend, Oregon at a glass retailer near you. For locations, call 541-788-GLASS. That's 541-788-4527. Since 1970, NORML has been fighting for the rights of all adults who use cannabis responsibly. Since 1974, High Times magazine has been the chronicle of the cannabis community. Every second Friday of the month, we bring that working relationship to the NORML Daily Audio Stash with our special guest, Senior Editor Dave Bienenstock, author of the official High Times Pot Smoker's Handbook, for our exclusive monthly preview of this month's issue of High Times. All right, 31 after the hour, and we're joined in snowy New York City by Dave Bienenstock, the senior editor of High Times. Are you guys all held up there in the High Times offices? How are things up there?
Well, the baked apple is starting to thaw.
Well, that's good to hear, Dave. I heard some bad things from our coworkers in Washington, D.C., that they were completely socked in. I'm so glad you guys are able to make it to the office today. I've got the new copy of High Times in my hand, showing it to the people here on the webcam. You'll be able to recognize the cover because it's got the Cannabis Cup 22 as the main feature. Tell folks what they got to look forward to with regard to the Cannabis Cup coverage.
Well, man, if you've been there, you know, and if you don't, you know, the Cannabis Cup is obviously a dream destination for a lot of people, myself included, before I was lucky enough to make it over there. This year, like I said, 22nd Annual Cannabis Cup. There were more coffee shops entered than ever before. We had great music, Barrington Levy, Slightly Stupid, Gomez, Yellow Man, just a lot of, great music every night. It's an amazing event, and, you know, for us, we live in New York working on the magazine. It's not really a big marijuana town in a lot of ways, so the Cup is a chance for us for a week to really spend time with this community and the people who read the magazine, and obviously the people who love great cannabis. And so, you know, we always have the special issue after the Cup, and we give it a lot of pages, and we really try to let people experience the event even if they weren't able to make it this year.
Yeah, there's some amazing photographs. I'm showing them off here on the webcam. Some amazing photographs of the winning strains, as well as what look to be winners in hash here. How many different categories do you guys have up there at the Cannabis Cup now?
Oh, if I remembered that, I wasn't a judge.
I see how
but
that
I would
works.
say, I think there's separate contests. There's indica and sativa, entered by the seed breeders. and then all of the coffee shops enter a coffee shop contest, and then there's best hashish for the imported hash from Nepal or Morocco or India often, and then there's a separate award for the best like water hash. So between all the different categories and all the different entries, there's got to be close to 100 distinct things to sample.
Oh, wow. And I've got people in the chat room that are asking what the winning strain was this year.
The winning strain was the Super Lemon Haze that was entered by the Greenhouse. That was the winner of the coffee shops competing against each other. And then for the seed...
That's our winner.
For the seed companies, there was Starbud from Hortilab for an indica, and for the sativa, it was Cerez Hilton from Harvestmen. And, you know, for anybody who might be interested in a new strain that they wanted to grow or sample, it's a really interesting issue to pick up because we take all those entries, at least the winners in every category, and really give a lot of information about them. And there's an entire photo section of you know, we bring our best photographer to the cup and get some beautiful shots of the buds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they look amazing. And I'm just wondering, as a judge up there at the Cannabis Cup, how many different strains are you trying to evaluate per day, and how do you even know what you're evaluating after the third or fourth strain?
You know, there's just a running debate over the best way to address that, we'll say, high-class problem of how to go through all those strains. Some people look at every strain and smell every strain and take notes about every strain before they sample the first one. Some people, we had a judge this year who was bracketing them like the NCAA playoff. You know, and then we have some people don't want to hear what anyone else has to say about anything, and some people want to talk nonstop. So, you know, it's a vital, vibrant. You know, it's what democracy actually looks like.
That's beautiful.
I guess, as opposed to you know, our more staid brand.
Now, you mentioned the winner overall. You were a judge. What did you have as your winners? What were your favorites?
Ooh, I guess I could say that. The one strain I really enjoyed over there was a Dr. Grinspoon, named after the legendary Lester Grinspoon, who actually gave the main speech at the NORML convention this year. And it was entered in tribute to him. It was almost a purebred sativa. I believe it was from Barney's, and it was just dynamite. I mean, very. The sativas are the uplifting, strains, and to have an almost purebred sativa is just an extreme rarity. In the U.S. and even in Amsterdam, they can be hard to find. So that was my personal favorite.
The Dr. Grinspoon is a high sativa blend, then.
I would say it was almost. I had heard it was pretty much a purebred sativa.
Wow.
So it's not something that people are going to be commercially growing.
Yeah.
The sativas take twice as long to mature, and then you yield half as much. So It's a real head stash kind of a thing.
All right. Well, from the Department of Perfect Segues, you mentioned the Dr. Grinspoon strain. You've also got an op-ed written by Dr. Grinspoon himself, and this also goes to an interview you have later on in the magazine, a quite lengthy interview with Rick Simpson, the Canadian man who claims he's made Phoenix Tears, the hemp oil treatment for cancer. Can you give folks a little background on this controversy and how Dr. Grinspoon managed to get in the magazine this month?
Well, I could say, I think that if you get the issue and you read both of those stories, you will get two different takes on an important issue and on a lot of important questions. And beyond that, I mean, I think it's just something where having two points of view on it, especially having Dr. Grinspoon, somebody who has been a pioneer and a leader of medical marijuana for many years. People should hear all sides of an issue.
Yeah, it's definitely something worth investigating, and I like the point that was made in the sidebar as in the High Times, how I think it was at the bottom of the article with Rick Simpson pointing out that let's at least take a look at this. Let's do some scientific research on this. Whether it's true or false, we can't really know until we do the real human trials and research on this. Is any other comments you'd like to make with regards to that part of the issue?
Well, I think one thing I'll say is, we're still having trouble getting the literal marijuana for medical marijuana research.
Yeah.
And that's definitely part of a larger issue. If you look at MAPS, has been in court with the DEA, literally just to create a place to grow marijuana to be used for research. And it's strange, and it's sort of telling that we've been able to make so many strides with actually supplying people with marijuana, and yet we're still so far behind in any of the research because there's this fear of where the research might lead. I can only assume.
Yeah. Well, speaking of medical marijuana, this is something I wanted you to let our listeners know a little bit about. They all know about High Times Magazine, and they can get a digital copy at hightimes.com. But you've got a new medical marijuana version of the magazine that's just debuting. Tell folks about this new venture.
Yes, it's a medical marijuana news and reviews. It is a new quarterly publication, so it'll come out 4 times a year. And it's something that I did a lot of work on, and I'm really proud of, and I think all of High Times is pretty proud too. We just realized, the medical marijuana scene has gotten so large, so many people are a part of that. It's in some ways, I think High Times, a lot of High Times readers also would want a second magazine, and there's certainly people who are only interested in medical marijuana. But we put together the first issue, and my real idea for it was to try to bring in a lot of people from the medical marijuana community to contribute. So we have Americans for Safe Access, MAPS, Paul Armentano from NORML wrote a piece for us, Steve D'Angelo from Harborside Health Center, Valerie Corral from WHAM, Lester Grinspoon, as you mentioned, all contributing to this magazine, and then really the articles that we think the people in the medical marijuana world and the medical marijuana patients and providers want to read about. So we have, for instance, an article about 7 legal pot jobs. How can you, obviously it's economically very tough times for people, and yet medical marijuana is a place where they are hiring people, and it is legal jobs that you can get involved in.
All right. Now, can people find access to that magazine through the High Times site, or is there another URL they need to know?
You can go to hightimes.com/medmj, and that'll take you right to a page where you can find out all about the magazine, and you can order a copy online. If it's a smaller print run just for the first one, so if they don't have it where you get your High Times, just ask them to start ordering it, and you can also hopefully we will be taking subscriptions soon too.
All right. Well, Dave Bienenstock's the senior editor of High Times Magazine. The latest issue is the April 2010 issue. This will be the official 420 issue, I suppose. And I'm really proud to announce that in the issue, we've got on page 16 a little article on Oregon's Cannabis Cafe, and on page 106, Madeline Martinez from the Oregon NORML Cannabis Cafe nominated as the High Times Freedom Fighter of the Month for the second time. There's also articles on Montana's medical marijuana in Big Sky High, some work on aeroponics made easy, Inside the Smuggler's Cup, and the Cannabis Cup Expo. Check out the latest issue of High Times Magazine, hightimes.com, or on your newsstands today. And Dave, thanks so much for joining us, and stay warm there in the snow.
All right. Take care, Russ.
All right. We are coming back to you in just a few seconds here. This is Normal Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation. Make sure to check out our blog at stash.normal.org. Sign the petition against CBS at bit.ly/normal-CBS in all capital letters. We're right back.
You're listening to Normal Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Just say no.
No matter what you call it, it's a huge part of popular culture.
Where'd you learn that, Cheech? Drug school.
You don't need weed school. You just need a copy of the new book, Pot Culture, the A to Z Guide to Stoner Language and Life.
Hey, this is great, man.
Even if you never smoked marijuana.
I never used marijuana. Sorry.
Don't think you smoked marijuana.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two and didn't inhale.
Or you used to smoke marijuana.
I inhaled frequently. That was the point.
Pot Culture by former High Times editor Steve Bloom and Shirley Halperin will answer every question you ever had about marijuana culture.
Has that marijuana made it back up here yet?
Check out Pot Culture, the A to Z Guide to Stoner Language and Life at Amazon.com or visit potculturebook.com today.
Too bad, man. I just stopped smoking yesterday.
You want to legalize it? Call your congressman today. 202-224-3121. It's free, it's easy, and you don't even have to give your name, just your zip code, and they'll hook you up to your congressman. Call 202-224-3121 and tell Congress you support marijuana legalization.
Liberate your mind. Liberate your mind.
Welcome back. 46 after the hour here at Normal Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation. Thanks for joining us. I want to remind everyone we will be interrupting the show today, interrupting the stream of music and replays between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock Pacific time today, as I'll be tearing down the setup here at the studio and driving out to the Cannabis Cafe for our concert that we're putting on, the Octa Benefit Concert to the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act, an initiative to tax and regulate marijuana for all adults in the state of Oregon. We'll be bringing that concert to you live from the Cannabis Cafe right here at live.normal.org, so stay tuned for that. Just be aware that there may be some interruptions in the stream as I change things out. Also, coming up tomorrow, we are going to be broadcasting early Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 11-ish, I will say, at the Oregon NORML cardholders meeting. This is a really amazing meeting. First of all, Oregon NORML is the largest NORML chapter in the country with over 1,860 members last time I checked their database. And at this meeting, it's for medical marijuana patients only who are members of Oregon NORML, and it attracts about 200 to 250 people in the room at a time. And it's a beautiful thing because you get all those people sitting there for the meeting. We go over the politics that are going on in Oregon and federally. We have people sign postcards and do letter writing campaigns. We turn in, thousands of letters and postcards to Oregon's senators and representatives and our federal senators and representatives as well. It's a really great example of the type of activism that can take place in a NORML chapter. And I understand that not every NORML chapter is going to have, 200 people at the meeting, especially if you're not in a medical marijuana state, but it does give you some ideas on what you can do at a meeting with regard to things like raffles and speaking engagements and having lawyers giving people tips on how to stay out of jail. So check that out tomorrow, live.normal.org, 11 a.m. Pacific till about 1 p.m. Pacific. You'll be able to catch the Oregon NORML cardholders meeting. For more information on that, check out Oregon NORML's website at ornorml.org. Now, I wanted to get to a subject that I blogged about earlier today, and I also talked about it a couple of days ago on the show here, and that is the police in this country and their perceptions and understanding of the marijuana issues. And this is something that was pointed out to me in a police magazine survey that was sent to me. This was sent to me by one of our readers. And it went on to talk about how police officers have a much different perception of the marijuana issue and how people feel about marijuana than the general public does. As we've looked at the surveys for the general public, we have found that most people support medical marijuana, and yet the police organizations that are in charge of training new police officers on the issues of marijuana are constantly feeding the new officers' heads full of misinformation. For example, in California, the California Narcotics Officers Association teaches police officers to believe, and this is a quote from their fact sheet on medical marijuana, they say, quote, "The public has been misled into believing there is merit to their argument that smoking marijuana is a safe and effective medicine." Now, of course, this directly contradicts this newly stated position of the American Medical Association that said, quote, "Short-term controlled trials indicate that smoked cannabis reduces neuropathic pain, improves appetite and caloric intake, especially in patients with reduced muscle mass, and may relieve spasticity and pain in patients with multiple sclerosis." End quote. So the California Narcotics Officers Association says that we've been misled. There's no such thing as smoked medicine. The doctors disagree. In New Jersey, the medical marijuana law there was severely curtailed in the assembly when New Jersey's Fraternal Order of Police, the representative from the Fraternal Order of Police said, quote, "I've heard in California there's a lot of peripheral crime around these medical marijuana dispensaries." This, of course, is in direct contradiction to the chief of police of Los Angeles, who stated, quote, "Banks are more likely to get robbed than medical marijuana dispensaries," and to the notion that there's greater crime around dispensaries, he said, quote, "I have tried to verify that because it is the mantra, but it really doesn't bear out." And in Oklahoma, a non-medical state, the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs Control publishes a fact sheet for their police officers that states, quote, "Today's new cultivation methods are producing a drug with up to 30% THC, or 3,000% higher than the marijuana available through the 1960s to the 1980s. That's right, the deadly Super Pot 2.0. Of course, this is in direct contradiction to the DEA's own figures on marijuana potency, which find that today's average cannabis seizure might have doubled maybe in THC potency. And of course, that would be a 100% increase, not a 3,000% increase. Nevertheless, Oklahoma doesn't bother, the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics doesn't bother to explain why we're supposed to be afraid of 30% THC plants, but 100% THC Marinol pills are FDA approved. All right, we got a special surprise here for the show. Taking a break here from my little rant and going off to the state of Colorado for a special update from our good friend John Doe of JohnDoeRadio.com. John, welcome back to the show.
How's it going, Russ?
It's going very good, and I want to thank you for all your awesome intros and songs that you provide on Thursdays for the show. We love it.
I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to bring the songs, because definitely giving me a chance to get the word out a little bit more, and more people have come to listen to John Doe Radio, and I appreciate that. I love you all.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Everybody here in the chat room loves you, too. And you had emailed me earlier about something that was going down in Colorado, and the news is breaking so fast there. The legislature keeps trying to pull fast ones on the people by, coming up with a hearing and then scheduling it the very next day so no one can get out to it. What do people need to know? What's the latest breaking news in Colorado?
Well, the latest breaking news is what's going on right now is, there's two bills right now that are in the process of being worked out through the legislative process. Senate Bill 109 would regulate the doctor and patient process and would basically tell dispensaries that they cannot hire doctors and have them working under their payroll or working inside the dispensary, which a lot of people are okay with. If or not you are, the issue basically will probably make it through, and then we'll be headed to court after that.
Yeah, this is awful because it does this. Let me make a mention on that, John, too, because this is something that people don't think twice about sometimes. They say, well, yeah, sure, somebody should have a relationship with their doctor. But what they don't understand is that what that means is that they're eliminating the specialty medical marijuana clinics, or the so-called pot docs, and forcing people to only get recommendations from their existing doctor. The problem is a lot of doctors won't recommend medical cannabis because they can lose their jobs at their HMO or their clinic or the hospital they work. So, and another thing is this affects poor people because when you're poor, it's a lot harder to maintain an ongoing relationship with a doctor. So this is a terrible idea. Sorry to interrupt you there. I just wanted to make sure those points are made. What else are we looking at in these bills?
Well, and there's another bill right off the top of my head. I thought I had it right in front of me, but I don't. It's another bill that's been proposed. And if any people know what's going on here in Colorado, they might know Chris Romer. He's the sponsor. Senator Chris Romer is the sponsor of this bill, and it would regulate dispensaries basically almost out of existence. The bill will change. It will go through many different variations. The bottom line is Rob Corey rips the bill line to line. Rob Corey is one of the leading lawyers here in Colorado. It's pretty much a big reason why we have the proliferation that we do in Colorado right now. I really look to him for my guidance on what I talk about on the show and the direction that I send my listeners to as far as thinking about the legislation process that's going on. He doesn't agree with it at all and thinks that it is unconstitutional across the board. So I would definitely watch for what's going on here in Colorado and expect there to be a lot of changes, a lot of news. What happens here possibly holds big for what happens across the nation. So it's definitely something I think everybody's going to want to watch.
Well, yeah, and we'll have Rob Corey on the show coming up in the coming weeks to discuss all these attempted changes to Colorado's law. And you point out or you imply here about the unconstitutionality. People need to remember it's not just the law in Colorado; it's a constitutional right to medical marijuana. So there's real limitations as to what they can do here. You want to expand on that a little?
Well, I mean, the constitutional, the process that we went through in Colorado is the people passed the legislation into our Constitution. It's unlike any other state in the entire nation that's passed the medical marijuana law. So, therefore, you cannot take away from a person's constitutional right, and anything that has a single solid inkling of crossing over into violating someone's right that way will get thrown out. And any type of bill that they propose that changes medical marijuana at all as it's going in the state of Colorado, in my opinion and a lot of people's opinion, would be unconstitutional. And it's ridiculous. And what I'm looking at today is right now, and what we're going to be going down to a local media station later on this afternoon to protest is the reason why we have such a problem in Colorado is because of the way that it has been covered, the way that marijuana is portrayed, especially with the local media station 9 News. They wrote a story today, and it's titled "The Jungle of Pot in Your Neighbor's Basement," and basically goes on to talk about how medical marijuana is being grown in $600,000 houses, and people should be worried about that. That's not the worrying part of the story. That's fine. We can deal with that in itself. But they went on towards the end of the story to list off intersections, specific intersections, literally West Bowles Avenue and South Kipling Parkway in Jefferson County, where medical marijuana grows in houses are happening. We already saw one prominent person get killed not long ago. His name is Ken Gorman. He started the rallies here in Denver, the 420, everything that kind of the process that we have of rallying. I get so worked up with this. It just makes me so mad that they would even do this after all this has happened. I got to catch myself here. But Ken Gorman, there was a undercover story done by local media on Ken Gorman and his grow that showed where he lived. No less than, I think, a week later, he was burst in, home invasion, shot and killed. So the fact that this has happened before and they have the gall to put up these addresses is just absolutely mind-blowing to me. And they still have not yet taken it down. So 420 today, in about an hour and 20 minutes here in Denver, we're going to go and protest outside of 9 News.
Yeah, we had a similar story here up in Oregon where we had a sheriff in Washington County who was publishing a map, and they had put marijuana leaves where the legal grow sites were. And, that's just a map for people to go around sniffing around, see if they can smell a grow site and do a home invasion robbery. It's a real shame. Hey, John Doe from John Doe Radio, we got to wrap up for the day, but I want to thank you so much for joining us and give you a chance to say goodbye.
Thank you guys very much. Thank you very much, Russ, Normal, everybody with the stash. Y'all have been very good to us, and we hope to bring you more tunes in the future and more news.
All right. Check out John Doe at johndoeradio.com. Thank you, John, for everything you're doing out there in Colorado, the Mile High City. And everyone else, check me out in just a couple hours. We'll be live at the Cannabis Cafe. I'm also going to be visiting Legalize Louisiana online here for a meeting to try to get a NORML chapter started in Louisiana. If you want to get involved, send me an email at stash@normal.org. We can get you a NORML chapter or create one near you so that you can organize and fight prohibition. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
You plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. And it goes down smooth.
We love the earth.
This is NORML Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
Take it out one more time. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.